We're on the deuce. Oh, we started on the tres. Oh, hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another great, awesome edition of Get Busy Without Kit and with Jim and Kristen and Dennis, if he's there. Hey, Kristen, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Awesome, awesome. You got a lot going on over there in Phoenix this week, right?
Oh yeah. Yep. They're probably like on pins and needles, like wondering if I'm gonna get there in time. So I probably have to drop out like 10 minutes early. But
Great.
I just couldn't stop like myself from like just jumping on it when I saw that Chris Lang was gonna be on here. I was like, oh, I want to meet him.
No, Chris Lang, and we're gonna have some awesome conversations. So get ready, buckle in. This is gonna be great. So hey, Chris, welcome. Welcome to Get Busy Without Kit. I'm sorry. So Kit, let me just explain. Kit is not feeling well today. Hopefully she'll be back with us next week. She may pop up now and again in the comment stream, but I don't know if she's even feeling well enough to do that this morning. But we will plow on. We'll still have a great time, and I'm so glad that we have Chris Lang with us here today to talk about the future. We're going to venture into the future here, and we're going to make some predictions with Chris. So welcome, Chris.
Well, no, thank you, James, and thank you for being the first here to interview me as we begin to finish my my first science fiction novel, Cleanses, and as we begin to talk about some of the things we've been envisioning. And oddly enough, Google's been nice enough to bring along new hardware and promise new software that's going to be aiding our lives to be a little less complicated and more organized through predictions and recommendations, as well as new things like wearable computing that we can afford, like the coming watches, which are available. We saw them previewed at Google I/O. But just a quick real-world experience here this morning. And that is, David Amerlin and I have explored this term a lot, and it's probably one of my favorites. It's the word perception. Perception is an amazing word, and it can mislead you to make bad decisions. Case in point, for some reason, I had it in mind that your show was at 8 p.m. rather than 8 o'clock. So even though I have a calendar setting from like 30 days ago, and we talked yesterday, and et cetera, still my perception misled me to think that your show was at 8 o'clock at night. So, and then from there, think about how things could have got off to a better start here if some type of wearable device had filtered out all the other crap that was going on in my mind as I've got your show and another at 1 p.m. today. Perhaps it would have said, hey, wake up. This is 8 a.m. and not 8 p.m. and you need to get showered and shaved. So you all have the rare pleasure of seeing what I really look like in the morning and how gravelly my voice is when I wake up and when I'm still on my second cup of coffee. So perhaps this will keep me from going on, as I'm rather known to be rather expansive on some of the things I like to talk about.
Well, hey, Chris, that's great. Yeah, if we would have had you on a wearable device, we could have zapped you. Yeah, exactly. So Get Busy. We do it early in the morning. We're not a PM show. We do it early in the morning here on Get Busy.
I like early in the morning. I'm much better, especially when I get up and get a shower before and shave before I have to be seen early in the morning. And funny that you said you could have zapped you, because that was the name of our apps platform in my last startup almost 3 years ago, was Customer Zap.
Oh, cool.
Words seem to be right on the cusp of things today. So yeah, predictions.
Well, hey, Chris. Well, wait. Before we get into that, so you know me, I like to start with the guests that we have on the show. I want people to understand who you are and what your story is. So let's go back in time. Let's go back in time a little bit, and let's talk about where did you grow up, first of all. And who is Chris Lang?
Well, I grew up in Toledo, Ohio. I was born in '63. I'm an old man turning 51 this year. First time I've ever felt old in my life. 40s didn't do it, 50s did. But I grew up in Toledo. at a time when the world was very different. We bought our first house in Toledo. My mom and dad bought their first brand new house, and our backyard ended in Michigan old growth forest, just 3 blocks from the Michigan line. So when I grew up, we went and played in the woods. We didn't go to we didn't go to the park. We didn't have play dates. Our toys were pretty much Hot Wheels, things like that, Lincoln Logs. So when we went and played, we went out and explored the forest, and it was a time in the late 60s and early 70s when you could just let your kids run wild in the neighborhood and you didn't have anything to worry about. The local store was owned by someone that probably lived near you in your neighborhood, and gas was about 58 cents. A very different time. My dad drove a Ford station wagon, with the big faux wood on the side, and he was a business machine repairman. He repaired typewriters and hand crank calculators. Basically what we call a 10 key now, and that was pretty much what drove the business world then. Rather different than everyone, expecting that the magic glowing screen has, whatever it needs inside the box. And if it doesn't work, you reinstall software. I mean, people actually came and fixed the physical machines at one time, if you can believe that. Now we have online support in a very different world. My dad's unique talent. He could type faster with 2 fingers than most people could on a manual machine with all 10.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Chris. So yesterday we were talking, and one of the things that had the most impact on your life was there was a tragedy that occurred when you were fairly young. So do you want to go ahead and tell us about that and how that impacted you for the rest of your life?
Sure. When I was 5 years old, my mom and dad took their first vacation. My dad was his last name was Lang, of course, just like mine, and he, after graduating from high school right around 48, 49, found it rather hard to get a job in America because he was German, and we just fought World War II. And it wasn't until the early 60s, when he was in his early 30s, that a Jewish businessman hired this German that was ostracized from most careers and most training, even though we were born in the United States and had been here for about 3 or 4 generations. On my dad's side, my mom's side were founding fathers and Puritans. Maybe why I like to stare into the fire so much. Bad joke, but I had to make it. Now it's been about 500 years. I mean, they've made Salem about it lately, which I'm addicted to as well. But after being brought into the business, my father and his German businessman Basil Root were very successful together. Basil went on to send him to be trained by IBM to learn how to build, fix, and repair the first computer-driven printers from big IBM mainframes in the big corporations, and they were extremely successful with this. I mean, and we grew up in Ohio, in all of Detroit, most of Indiana, most of Ohio. My dad in 1970 was the only person that could repair these early large computer-driven printers. And really, the only way to save data back then was to archive it to paper. So we went on our first vacation. My parents didn't get me till I was you or me? Cool. I can never tell if it's me. Windows 8 is a little persnickety when it comes to Hangouts at times. So we headed off on our first vacation to look into my dad buying my mom and dad, after saving for every penny they had for a long time, looking into buying their own IBM-based distributorship and their own business, and breaking away from the gentleman that he currently was working with, because they were the same age. He was never going to retire, sell a business to my dad, so he had to break away to make the big money. And so we stopped at a Hilton outside of Cleveland, Ohio. The pool was faulty and had a very strong. Excuse me, I just gotta get a deep breath. Had a very strong pool filter on the bottom of the pool because it was an old style 60s diving pool. The filter came on, pulled my father under the water, and damn near drowned the two of us. So, and it did proceed to drown him. That was 1970, July 22nd. And I write about that a lot now in my new coming novel, Plunges, as I used my own life as it may have been if that hadn't occurred, if we had continued on, bought the IBM distributorship, and I'd been on the ground floor of computing, and my father built the business for me to inherit. So I used that idea in that person to create my character Stuart Pauls, my protagonist, in first my short story, Plunges, Augmented Reality, Augmented Insanity, and now my coming new novel, Plunges, Birth of the Machines. And I'm kind of envisioning of how things may have turned out differently in my life had I, been raised with a father, a big IBM distributorship and a big business behind me, and having been on the ground floor of selling and distributing and repairing the early PCs. And we're seeing them explore that same story, oddly enough, in a great new show on cable channel 64. Same channel as The Walking Dead is on. It's called Halt, Catch, Fire, which was one of the early DOS commands that just made a computer stop when it got stuck in an endless loop. If you've ever had basic computer knowledge, or the program that won't ever shut down, that is what's called a endless loop.
Yeah, I kind of hate when that happens, right?
Yes. We now know of it as Control-Alt-Delete, or possibly just back then, we were talking DOS commands. I mean, computer users were very skilled and very challenged to learn a whole lot to be able to run DOS or be able to enter DOS and make commands to recover a PC that was acting up. And again, we're talking, 1972, 73, 74, the early IBM distributorships, and then of course is Halt, Catch, Fire, this new cable show, which I really do enjoy, being early 80s, just as Microsoft was beginning to develop their GUI for the PC. So, the computer has kind of always been there in the back of my life one way or another, and after being a marketer for 15 years and prior to that, growing up as a chef running big hotels and my own catering business, being in brick and mortar for 20 years, I had bars, etc. A really happy time for me before I learned what a computer was in 1999.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go back to 1999, or maybe go back maybe not quite that far, but so when I first met you, you were in marketing.
Yes, definitely.
Right. So tell us a little bit about how you got into marketing and what that's done for you in your career.
Well, up until I left owning bars, catering businesses, being a chef, running these big hotel kitchens of 20 years in 1997, and I decided to put it into a big piece of horse property and just kind of I was 33, just kind of get out of business and just go kind of play on my little ranch for a while. And it was at a time when developers were running the big people off their horse property in Scottsdale, Arizona. And they proceeded to do the same thing on the south side of Phoenix. And two con artists got a hold of me, and I lost everything I owned at 33. I got drunk and felt sorry for myself for about 2 straight years, having lost everything down to my forks, knives, spoons to these two conners. And summer of 1999, I went to an AA meeting, got sober, and worked my way back up from nothing, having become divorced because of this, etc. I bought my first computer because here I am, I opened a Macaroni Grill to start life over again in 99, waiting tables. And all of a sudden I'm working with a bunch of 17 to 21-year-old kids and they all have computers, and they all have the earliest cell phones, and they're connected in completely different ways than I'd ever been. And it took me about 2 months before I bought my own computer. And 4 days after buying that computer, fall of '99, I was building my first websites and reading a lot of the news groups and email lists, broadcasts from the big guys in marketing that you rarely hear of anymore. People like Paul Myers and Armin Morin, a lot of the people that are less visible today than maybe Frank Kern or Evan Pagan. But these guys were the beginnings, and I instantly, of course, took what I wanted to be something that was fun and turned into a business, something I've always been apt to do. I began, spending most of the night on my computer learning how to write HTML, learning about databases, learning about server-side code, what we call the cloud these days, and reading voraciously and learning everything I could, because I knew that somehow I was going to make my living on a machine, and that I better catch up with the world, because unbeknownst to a lot of people, things were changing highly. And it's been a heck of a 15 years. I mean, I've worked with the big names in the business. I've made fantastic amounts of money. I've been rich and I've been poor. I've gone through sales droughts of 6 months. I've made more money in a week than some people make in an entire year. That I will warn you of. If you want to do that, it can be a very scary place. Running online business or any business, you're gonna. I can guarantee you, once you do it, you can never go back to the normal world. You can never hold a job again. Once you make your living completely online and you enjoy the freedom of it, if I want to take the day off, I take the day off. Unless I have a show with James Fierce at 8 o'clock.
Unless you're getting busy with the
Sure,
get busy
yeah.
crew.
Oh, I mean, and the idea of is it that you actually enjoy this business when you do get busy. You actually enjoy the work that you do. There's a lot of things to promote out there. There's a lot of things that people promote just for money. You'll rarely see me push someone else's product. I did push Joel Combs' images library for whiteboards and presentations. I mean, that was a fantastic package, and it sold very well. But when you push something that's commercial to make a commission, and you get emails back like I did yesterday saying, "That was fantastic. I'm so glad you shared that product with me." And then things change a little bit, and you begin to look at how you yourself are shaping other people's lives. And when you start thinking about helping people rather than just seeing them as a user, something I wrote about a lot in Plenses, is my character Stuart Pauls begins to see the people behind these machines, and that it's not just a user. And it was a good piece that I wrote in there, and that's something I think about every day. Is I've always had a close relationship with the people I've sold things to for a long time, and like I said, it's been 15 years, and I really wanted one last big challenge before I head into the part of my life that's closer to the end than the beginning. So we decided, Margie and I, my other half, we decided, what the heck, let's take a run at it. Let's move to Denver. We rented a small house from her sister. We have almost no bills. We've sold almost everything, all the ton of crap that we owned in Phoenix. We yard saled all that off. We came to Denver and decided to live in poverty and give this novel a chance that it deserves. And we're just about a month away from being finished with this long ride of 15 years. As my technical editor, Colonel retired from the U.S. Army, is my technical editor. He happens to be just returning from safari of 3 weeks in Africa. So expect to see me sharing some of his pictures, as that's the only thing he shot in Africa.
Awesome. Well, let's jump into, okay, so we're into the book a little bit. Tell us about all of these notes on the wall, and I think yesterday you even showed me that you had some on the ceiling. Is that?
Well, I wanted to whiteboard the whole room, but then the thoughts of having to recover it was a little daunting. So one of the interesting things I came up with is my constantly rearranged list of chapters here, 16 chapters, and the algorithms on the wall. And we have another interesting deal is you'll see down here, down the heating bench, I have clumped together groups. These are bits and pieces that I organize into possible pieces of the story. And then as they move down, this one is getting ready to go into being more organized here, and then we take this down and turn it into a final chapter. This is it's very hard for me to, I can hold 4 or 5 different concepts in my mind at the same time. When I was a programmer, I find it hard to hold all the aspects of this book in my mind. And we dry erase board on the back wall. When I begin to feel a little iffy, I grab my push-up bar here and get the blood flowing again. Is just a lot of times you seem to kind of feel that chug down when you're going really good. One of the ways to get that back is just do some light exercise very quickly, and that will bring the oxygen back up in your blood system in about 20%. And there's suddenly more blood to the brain, and you can go right back to work and work for longer periods of time. Also, I got my Chase Lounge back there, as I highly believe in an afternoon nap.
Awesome.
So that's kind of my work experience there. And the spire on the ceiling kind of represents the idea of the machines as Google does. You know, Google spiders go out and collect information about what's going on. Very simplistic terms, but basically Google stores the entire internet every few days to its own machines. And then that's what Google spiders do, if you've ever heard of a search engine spider. So that kind of let's just get a little prop to, that's my spider.
Yeah, that's awesome, Chris. Okay, so I want super high level, the 10,000-foot level. Tell us what Cleanses is about. What's the premise of the book?
Well, I've always been interested in movies like Terminator. And I've always believed that it's very possible that these living machines have already sprung to life as the singularity, as described as code running into each other that somehow gives rise to a living sentient machine. While we are trying to create those, I believe that this may have already occurred, and that these machines are really out there. And very much unlike Terminator, I do not see the machines suddenly coming to life and deciding to kill us all. Because really what the machines would want to do is somehow cross over into our world, because our world's a whole lot more fun than the digital one. We like to go play in the digital one. I'm sure if there were digital living beings, they would want to come play in our world. So what I decided to do was write my first book about the birth of the machines. And let's go back to a time when these programmers are trying to create thinking living machines. Let's start way back at the beginning, because I've always wanted to know the story about how the machines came to be. And what a programmer might go through as some small independent person like me tried to compete with the likes of Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and Apple. So this story, Cleanses, the Birth of the Machines, is just a simple story about a guy that tries to build a machine that directly helps the average person. We've seen lots of high-level versions, shows like Person of Interest. So what my programmer, Stuart Pauls, and Cleanses is doing is trying to build machines that help the average person live a better life. Something that doesn't cost them an arm and a leg, and something that will work everywhere, no matter what device the person might use. And as he begins to build this software, he begins to become rather divided from the world, as we tend to isolate ourselves when we're deep in huge projects like this. And he begins to possibly become a little closer to the machines than the world. And I'll leave you to learn more about that, as we will be releasing the book probably by Labor Day, my birthday, all depending on how quickly edits go.
Great. Okay. So now that's a great segue into wearable technology, right? So wearable technology. Let's talk about some of the wearable technology that's out there right now, and then since this is Get Busy, you know, we hear a lot about wearable technology, but we don't necessarily hear a whole lot about some of their potential business applications. So yesterday we were talking about some different wearable devices, right, and how they might actually be applicable in business situations, and the fact that there's plenty of opportunity for us to be more efficient, more productive, and in general, even maybe just even have more fun,
Sure.
right? So.
No. Well, let's talk first. Of course, if you watched anything about Google I/O or have been on Google Plus at all and talk tech in any way, you've seen lots of mentions of two different Android-based wearable watch alert systems. And the idea is that you have the watch with the small screen. It's tethered to your phone, either in your purse or in your pocket. And as alerts occur on the phone, you might decide, as one of the developers behind the app, to push an alert to the watch. And this would be something, this would be something that the person would definitely want to see and would be well above things like social alerts. I mean, I don't want all my tweets coming in. I get about 100 Google Plus alerts an hour. We're not talking about that. We're talking about things like, hey, Chris, where are you? You're supposed to be on my show in 10 minutes. That would have been a very valuable thing. Or say Google Calendar. The only thing that's on my Google Calendar is things that I must do, and I rarely have to do anything because I don't like doing anything. So, you know, something like that. Now, let's say Margie and I are downtown in Denver. Downtown Denver is by far the social place with bars, restaurants, shopping. The rest of Denver is not nearly as commercialized. So if you're downtown, there's just a plethora of things to do. I mean, you're just surrounded. It's a very rich downtown area. So let's say Margie and I are walking along, and since we're not the kind of people, we're at our old age that go out a lot. I was a chef. I'd prefer to stay home, cook my own food, build things in my garage, play in my yard. But let's say we're down there and we're about to pass a restaurant, which of course can be detected by GPS by the phone. Of course, I have all that turned on full time. And we're passing a restaurant that a lot of my friends may have pinned on Pinterest. And said very good things about, or said very good things about in Google reviews or Yelp or any of those kinds of things. Now, should I have, say, the Google Now app, or I should have Yelp, the Yelp app, or I should have a Pinterest app on my phone? Now that the Pinterest developers would probably be pretty smart to decide that when an event like this occurs, so we're talking about an event, something happens in the person's life that then can be sent back to the cloud. The cloud can go, okay, this has occurred. Can we make any kind of prediction? It's around lunchtime. He's passing a restaurant that he's pushed a lot. Well, I'm going to push an alert from the phone into, I see Margie's here, just 1 second, with some coffee. Thank you, Margie. Everybody say hi to Margie.
Hey, Margie.
So we're in morning clothes and shorts and everything. So at this point, you might just want to push an alert to that watch and say, that restaurant 20 feet up ahead on the second story, all your friends, a large majority of your friends, 22 of your friends, or maybe just your best friend has said something good about. This is a good example of how Wearable will work. I was on a thread talking to Eli Fennel and a couple others yesterday, and they were like, "Oh, well, what if?" I'm like, "No, it's none of that. It's the things that are going to come to these wearables are going to be small, very interesting, highly targeted things that are triggered by events by what you're doing." There's lots of things I can tell from a phone's accelerometer. I can tell if you're riding a bike. I can tell if you're driving a car just by the speed by which you're moving. I can tell if you're on the train headed to downtown. Well, if I was on the train headed to downtown, I would certainly want my watch to start popping up, say, coupons and alerts about what's going on down there. Oh, hey, by the way, a bunch of your friends are over here. They forgot to tell you I might want to drop in at that bar. These are the kind of things that are going to come to these small wearable devices via your phone, via decisions made in the cloud. So when we talk about machine learning and artificial intelligence, these things are not going to be on our phones. We're not going to be carrying living devices. We're 20 years away from that kind of thing, at least. But however, there's a lot of predictions that Google, Facebook, Apple through Siri, and definitely the coming digital assistant Cortana from Microsoft on their phones. There's a lot of computing, I mean, mega computing power back there. And these machines can make predictions about what we're doing and what we're doing next, and then without having to constantly take the phone out of the pocket, push it to a small wearable device that you can quickly scan, dismiss, or maybe decide to pull your phone out of your pocket and learn more. So probably the next thing we should talk about, once I answer any questions you might have about that scenario, is why you wouldn't take the phone out of your pocket, because no one understands that. And we talked about that yesterday, James. I think it should probably be our next one. But what kind of questions you have there about predictions in the cloud occurring through the app and being pushed to the wristwatch?
Right. Okay. So let's take the restaurant scenario, and you and your wife decide that, hey, this is an awesome restaurant. We're going to go check it out. What are some of the efficiencies, right? So if we went into a restaurant and they were into the tech age and they were using technology the way that they really should be to run a restaurant well and to give you an awesome experience beyond just great food and great drinks, what are some things that the restaurant could do to take advantage of this technology and make it a better experience for you, make it a better experience for the workers who are involved, and just make it all around a great experience?
Well, definitely. I would say so. Number one, this whole experience begins with an app on your phone. That is the go-between between predictions that can be made in the cloud and alerts that can be pushed by the phone to your wristwatch. So let's talk about the most popular app within the restaurant industry, which is OpenTable. Your ability to make reservations from the phone. Now, once you might check in with the restaurant and arrive after making an online reservation, you're almost always going to, excuse me, see a small wait because no matter if you haven't been in the business for 20 years, the wait's going to back up a bit. You're always going to have a small wait, so they usually give you this small coaster with the blinking lights so they can page you and let you know when your table's open. Be a whole lot more efficient in this scenario, James, is if you made the app through OpenTable, that then they push the alert to your wristwatch. So think about the last time you may have gone out into the dining public and seen people on a date. Really bad etiquette, even though it occurs so much of the time, to be playing with your phone while you're on a date with someone in that new period before everything goes to hell and you play with your phone anymore. So, I might want to see that, I might need to check that phone without having to have it out, because if my phone's near me, I'm going to play with it. Shiny things. So now at this point, the guy and the girl are both able to keep their phones in their pocket, maintain some dating etiquette, and get the alert without having to drag that stupid thing around. I mean, so many people come up to the host stand in a restaurant. If you've ever been around a host stand, stuck there waiting for a while, or possibly worked in a restaurant. And they're like, I don't know what I did with the thing. The kids hit it and they ran off. And so many of them are lost. So now we're not only saving restaurant money, we're making a more efficient, more graceful seating at the table without pulling the phone out. We talked about this a little bit yesterday in our warm-up. You talking about how being able to order your to-go food ahead of time without having to go to the restaurant, place it, or possibly, you can't use your cell phone in the car anymore. It's a new way to give us a ticket. And they've even said that predictions say that very soon using the phone in the car will actually cause more accidents than DUIs. Pretty heady prediction. Excuse me. Pretty heady prediction there, but yeah, so you're not calling in your order anymore while you're driving, and you're certainly not texting it. So the ability to, have someone else in the car possibly use the app. Let's see, you don't have a menu with you. Things are waiting for you when you pull up. Near field detection could say, oh, gee, the person that called that in is now here. Person runs it out. Lots of little things you can do with things called near field detection. Sharing distance and GPS publicly where you are with apps on your phone. So it's, you may not want to tell the world exactly where you're at in real time. Going back to some of the good early Google apps, including Google Maps. But you might want to tell an app that, yeah, you're real close to arriving at the restaurant for your to-go food. I would push that forward. And I would say certainly one of the applications that would be taking advantage of this kind of technology would be OpenTable. OpenTable being, probably the most used restaurant reservation app. And they just got acquired by somebody big too, didn't they, James?
Good question. I'm not 100% sure. You know what? At this time, Chris,
actually.
Hey, Chris. At this time, I want to throw open questions to our panelists.
Sure.
So let's start with Dennis. Hey, Dennis.
Hey.
Do you have any questions for Chris?
Questions? I don't know. I mean, there was a comment made in the stream about, let's see here. Hold on a second. Lee Rickler says, considering that we stare at our phones 24/7, what shortcut will a smart watch make? And I got to say, from it was probably in 2007, I thought, back in that time, I was actually working construction, okay? Roofing sales. And a watch that could have told me who was calling through the Bluetooth would have been massive, because you're on a ladder, you're in all sorts of environments that, pulling a phone out of your pocket is actually quite dangerous. So I've for a long time wished that this technology could come along, and for the life of me can't figure out why telling us who's calling isn't available on just about every watch right now. But I think that's just a very light touch on some of the things that Chris is talking about, a lot more in depth and powerful. But personally, from personal experience, I can see benefit of being able to have some of that data on your watch and not on in your phone.
Certainly. Let's think about plumbers. When you take the idea of people that are addicted to their phones and have time to be addicted to their phones away, and you start thinking about people that work for a living with both hands, and you hit it right on the head, being on a roof. My best friend is a plumber. My other best friend is a commercial electrician. Neither of them know how to do much more with a computer than click on Facebook and chat with their friends. My real world friends are working class construction guys, and I spent the first 20 years of my life working running large kitchens with a bunch of people from Mexico that don't speak any English. A very tough place to be for the only white guy in an Arizona kitchen. So I grew up around the working class, as the working class, etc. And when you're working, you're using both hands. I mean, think about just a Walmart checkout girl. You're probably not going to have a whole time to pull your phone out and look at it, because I'm going to be in line going, what the hell? Put your phone down and finish my checkout. I have things to do here. Do your job. In this kind of instance, a watch would be very valuable. A plumber that may be snaking a drain. He's probably going to get wet. He's probably going to get rather dirty. He's probably going to have his phone in the back pocket. And if he gets an alert that he's doing another job very soon, and to hurry up and finish what he's doing because he gets paid by the piece, so he gets to make more money like that, that would be very valuable. A commercial electrician that's handling high voltage and wiring buildings, not going to have a whole lot of time to pull out that phone. Again, he's working piecework. So the more work that you get done, you get paid by the piece. If you can get a little bit more work done that day, you're going to get paid a lot more. A person being paid piecework can make as much as $10 more an hour. So when you pull the idea of, someone like me that has, their tablet, their phone, their TV on a second screen, and is surrounded by this kind of stuff, and is all day, and has Wi-Fi out in whatever portion of my yard I want so I can stream my music, when you forget about this kind of person, and you start talking about, like you were talking about, doing roofing quotes and climbing ladders and using both hands, yeah, definitely. That's Dennis, that's exactly where I was going to go to answer that question. You simply gave me another scenario to use in there. Being up on a roof is a very dangerous place.
I do have a question for you, Chris, though. Do you think wearable technology could solve the problem of plumber crack?
No, like I said, my best friend's a plumber. It just comes with the territory. We were on a very early HOA with a NFL safety, one of the earliest HOAs that was broadcast, before I even had the account, watching the Super Bowl or the playoffs together. So my buddy is like a huge football fan, and a huge fan of the guy that was the NFL safety on a show. So he comes over, and we're sitting in my office in Phoenix then, and my buddy Boomhauer the plumber turns around. I had to jump in front of him because it was plumber crack.
Oh,
almost broadcast.
You saved the day, Chris.
HOAs.
You saved the day, Chris. Thank you for that.
Nobody wanted to see that. Believe me, he's my best friend. I've seen way too much of it. So is Margie.
Hey, Kristen. How's it going? Do you have any questions for Chris?
I think you're muted, dear Christian.
Oh,
there you
my
are.
cursor, whenever I want to use it, it doesn't let me use it. I was actually trying to let you know that I need to leave. Yeah, so I have an event that I need to go to, and they're like messaging me, "You're gonna be here, right? You're gonna be here, right?" But it was such a pleasure, and I treasure, I so treasure the emails that we sent, and
we got to know each other through David Amberlin that afternoon. That was great. I was so glad to hear your questions and your comments. And and I see you're on James Fierce's show. You're not messing around here, Kristen. Very nice.
Oh no, I'm going full force. And I just thank you so much for everything that you shared with me and that you're sharing with us today, to help motivate people that have been at the bottom rung and that can climb.
Thank you. I'm very honored to have been here, and thank you for your gracious comments.
Awesome.
All right.
Well, hey, Kristen, have a great day, and keep us posted with what you're doing, with what's going on over there.
All right, I will. My cursor will move. I'll get out of this. All right.
Okay. Take care.
So, James.
Yes.
What do you think, I was showing you that piece of wearable technology in the green room before Chris got on.
Break it out. Break it out.
You think it's time to break out? Okay, so,
yes.
I'm just
This is so high-tech, Dennis.
This is extremely high-tech. Are you ready?
Right.
I'm just not making enough money, personally, to be able to afford Google Glass. And Chris and everyone watching, my company is called Gombach. So, I invented this. Are you ready? Gombach glass. It's a very handy little tool. It allows me to do the video footage that Google Glass does. Unfortunately, I can't see anything but what's on the computer screen, and I look like a complete nerd. But it works actually quite well.
The tape on the glass is classic.
Yeah.
Tape on the glass is must.
Dennis takes wearable technology to the next level.
You got it. All geek
Only-
all the time.
You know what? You will only see this on Get Busy without Kit and with Jim. And
That's right.
Dennis, the Deuce Man. Breaking out the wearable technology. Hey, Chris, what do you think, Chris?
I've tried a couple different versions myself. One went like this, another one like rubber bands. It just didn't work out well, especially in the shower.
Rubber bands in your phone are awesome. You can strap them to rear view mirrors and record yourself while you're driving. You can strap them to tripods. You can strap them to, you can strap a cell phone to anything with a couple of, Chris Vogel is patent that sucker. Yeah, anyone who wants a pair of Gombach glass, I will sell them for $150 plus shipping.
Yeah, I do kind of question the price point of Google Glass. I mean, I'll tell you, certainly if I was 10, 15 years younger and single, Google Glass is probably the biggest attention getter there is. I mean, even Robert Scoble has got hot 25-year-old girls to talk to him by wearing Google Glass. So the Google Glass is just such date bait. I mean, if I was 30 again and single, I'd buy them in a minute. It would probably save me, a whole lot of turndowns as well. To come up within approaching girls in social situations with something interesting to talk about.
But hey, Chris, think of how much further you could go if you had the Gombach glasses and you asked somebody for a date. Like,
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I'm not sure you're thinking there, but I'm willing to listen to yours.
Well, I mean, if you're trying to date, a nerd,
Exactly, right?
it's going to work great.
It
You
will
want
work.
that hot chick, forget it.
The tape on the glasses, especially, just the tape on the glasses sets you apart. I look at things in a very business standpoint, but I'll tell you, the people out there that find ways to make this fun, something Google's never been very good at, is making things fun. Google makes things possibly too hard to use at times and too serious. When someone finds ways to make these wearables very interesting, very fun, and definitely dating and social tools in the real world, now we might have something. I've always, I probably one of my favorite businesses was owning a bar, and I've always wanted to have a very connected bar where you could interact with the bar setting. Everyone in the bar could interact in some way with the bar and with each other through their phones. When someone starts to build applications that supply that kind of functionality to local social settings, coffee houses, etc., things like that, polls within the bar, contests within the bar, things you can participate in through the phone. When people begin to use this for these wearable technologies for our phones, for our eyepieces, and in turn, not the world into one big social setting, but allow people in a room to interact with the machines, drink specials, etc., just everything coming to your phone and being able to rate what you have and interact together as a group. And we could go even farther into ways to meet people within clubs, etc., through these kind of things. When people start to build applications that make these devices fun, I think that we'll see them explode. Right now, people think, oh, gee, it's just another way to see the endless tweets, the endless Google Plus posts, cat or day, Facebook. No, that stuff does not belong on a wearable. What belongs on a wearable is extremely pertinent, targeted to the actions, intent, context that you're taking, where you're at, what you're doing. When you start to think about it like that it isn't most of the crap that we already see on our desktops, our laptops, and our phones, and that these are going to be very unique things that are brand new to us and highly pertinent and highly interesting and things that improve the moment for us. Not just, oh, gee, I didn't miss that. No, improve the moment. Like I would have passed the restaurant that I described downtown. When you start thinking these wearables delivering the next generation of alerts about the real world that you're in, not the digital world that's on the phone in your pocket, then you'll start to see where these wearables can go. And everybody, just like any new device, everyone is dying to tell you that it's crap or the greatest thing in the world. I'm trying to tell you that the technology that's going to come to us on these devices hasn't even been invented yet.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, Chris, yesterday we talked a little bit about Oculus Rift and the fact that Facebook bought Oculus Rift. So tell us a little bit about what Oculus Rift is, and then let's predict how, if Facebook management and scientists and engineers were smart, what are some of the creative and innovative things that they could do with that platform and bring it into a social realm?
Well, I've had a hard time describing what I see Oculus Rift doing other than calling it Facebook Virtual Worlds. So there's two versions of Oculus Rift currently out there. There's one version being developed along with Samsung that will allow you to take your nice big fat phone and insert it into a headset, thereby not having to have two screens, thereby lowering the price. Oculus Rift is a virtual reality headset. It was invented by a 16-year-old kid. Let me grab it. It was invented by a 16-year-old kid in his garage a number of years ago. It was just acquired for, I believe, 4.2 billion by Facebook. He made the cover of last month's Wired. You can track down and read all about him in Wired. Where I tell you, Wired magazine, and I quote, says, "This kid's about to change gaming, movies, TV, music, design, medicine, sex, sports, art, travel, social network, education, and reality. The Oculus Rift is here, and it will blow your mind." You can read all about it in Wired, but what it is it's a screen that's very close to your face, held on by a headset, delivers 360-degree virtual reality as well as sound. So you can imitate it very easily with if you just Google I/O cardboard. They have a cardboard cutout that you can fold up into a version of Oculus Rift, and it holds the phone very close to your face, and you can see what it might be like to wear an Oculus Rift virtual reality headset. So what it allows you to do is much like when you play a video game and you scroll to turn to the left, well, this headset and a screen very close to you would be just like turning your head to the left, but physically. So it gives you the physical idea of movement rather than just watching the screen swing back and forth. It also gives you a 360-degree bubble of up, down, sideways, behind you, left, and right. As you swing the headset, the software moves the screen on your screen and gives you the illusion of being in virtual reality. With that description, let's talk about how this might work for, let's say, search. We talked about, I described this experience as being inside of a diamond. Oddly enough, my plumber friend Boomhauer came up with this concept that as the light enters a diamond, depending on what facet you are looking at, or in virtual reality, what facet you're looking out from inside of a diamond, you will see a different refraction and collection of light depending on the angle that you turn the diamond. And that's how I'm trying to express my idea of Facebook virtual worlds. This concept has come to be translated into something called faceted search. David Aberlin's talked about it highly in his book, Google Semantics, or Semantic Search for Google. What the idea here is that this software knows more about what you're doing, the direction you're looking, and by displaying various collections of what might be shared by your friends on Facebook, you would have a facet of all things about a certain subject that you're interested in. Now, I'm all for Facebook algorithms, Google algorithms, etc., displaying on my various feeds things that I think I'm more interested in, and definitely not displaying duplicates should 4 or 5 people share the same post. I like that idea, but what I really want to do is I want them to continue to move ahead and do more of their job, and it's to bring collections of very interesting things to me. So while wearing this headset, you might be looking at search is search without search, and Google displaying facets and collections of things that it knows I'm interested in. Because I've been sharing my I was the second oldest Google Plus profile, only second to Robert Scoble in 2008. I let Google store everything that I do for since 2007, 2006. Google knows a lot about me. Google should be able to do a better job of displaying things that I'm interested in without people on Google Plus having to share it with me. So when you think of a headset with a 360-degree collection of facets of everything that might be going on in the world, every kind of news, I can simply kind of look around in this virtual reality or augmented reality through something like Google Glasses or some of the two pane Google Glasses have come out. It allows me to look around in a virtual world and see images that represent what I might be interested. Breaking news, what just happened, and as I might grab that and pull it towards me in virtual reality, then it would expand me into the next set of facets. It would make a very interesting interface, very interesting UI, a user's interface of how we might well surf the web and our social feeds sometime in the future. And I'll tell you, out of all the wearable technology, I'm way more excited about Oculus Rift and Facebook's future potential. And I've been a pretty critical person of Facebook in the last few years. So I'm pretty excited about what I call immersive technologies and very heavy-duty, overwhelming, if you will, interfaces of virtual reality, Facebook, and Oculus Rift.
Wow. That's pretty intense.
Pretty intense, but you might want to watch that section a couple times, read up on Oculus Rift, take a look at the Wired article. It's the center of 4 or 5 pages. I think this is a technology that's being highly overlooked by Google Plus users because of their extreme negativity towards Facebook. If anything that's happened that's changed my life a lot, James, here to leave you on one last note about me, and I'll let you kind of take things home here if you're ready. And that's that if one thing has happened to me in the last year while writing Cleanses, is that I have become far less of a fanboy of any one system, and I'm way more excited about apps that will take everything out there and show me what I want very quickly. Apps that are independent of the big corporations. And I think that's where this new wave of programmers and new wave of visionaries and these young kids that see Facebook as a tired old man's game that their parents use are going to be creating new devices, new interfaces, and things that run on all these different devices in very thin or very thick applications, depending on our connectivity, the device we're using, our context and intent, and just what we want out of the world that particular moment.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. I love trying to predict the future and seeing what's going to come to play with all of these things. So, hey, Dennis, do you have any thoughts on today's show? Any comments that you'd like to leave us with?
You know, I like to think of myself as someone who sees big pictures, and quite honestly, Chris is just blowing my mind today. So it's been a pleasure to sit and listen to some of the views of where things can go, and many of them where things will go in the future of technology. And this has been an amazing hangout. Thank you, Chris.
And certainly, I'd like to join you again once I can provide you with a preview copy of the book, and you can read how I envision, one of these independent apps makers creating new cool toys for us that are outside of the vision of these big corporations. So I look forward to hopefully talking to you again as we come down to a Labor Day launch.
Hey,
Yeah.
Chris, that sounds awesome. We'd love to have you on again, and we can make some more predictions that time. You know what I think the bottom line is? The technology that we love the best, I think, in my opinion, is the technology that kind of humanizes us and brings us together and gives us a great experience, whether it's a personal experience or a great experience in a business, right? The technology that's going to do that for us, I think, will be the technology that wins overall. So,
And the technology that saved my butt today?
what the phone?
Landline when you called me, my landline. I can believe that.
Well,
That was future tech. A $20 Walmart phone saved my butt, so I was pretty excited when the phone rang.
hey, Chris, you know what? That saved our butt too because neither Dennis nor Dennis with the Gembot glasses, nor I with my nerdy, whatever glasses, and my iPhone, we could not have had this conversation between the two of us that we were able to have with you. So that phone and Dennis's phone, I mean, that saved our butts as well. So thank you for that.
Certainly been my pleasure, James. Very good to hook back up with you as I'm getting back to getting out of my dungeon and back into the world.
Yeah, likewise, Chris. It was great to have you on the show today. So thank you, everyone, once again for joining us on Get Busy. Next week, I'm excited to announce that Kelly Holmes will be on the show. So Kelly Holmes is the founder and CEO of Team Referral Network, and she's going to come on the show. We're going to talk about networking, the importance of networking for your business, and I'm super excited to have her on the show. We're also going to talk about, since I'm a director of Team, and I'm the owner of this show, we're also going to talk about going into, speaking of virtual reality, we're starting virtual teams, Chris, so we're going to be talking a little bit about that next week as well. So what is it, what are virtual teams all about, and how can you do networking via Google Plus Hangouts? So yeah, I'm super excited about that. Everyone have a great week. If you're watching us from within the U.S., or you're a U.S. expat somewhere else, I hope you have an awesome and amazing 4th of July weekend. Hope your weekend is great. Spend it with friends, family, and doing the barbecue thing. And we'll see you here again next week. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.